I was not paid to promote any products, nor was I paid to make this video, but I would like to thank Phil Mann at Inland Sea and Kite Site for lending me his demo gear for a couple of weeks.
That's awesome!
Here are two hydrofoils from two leading manufacturers. We have Axis on your left and Armstrong on your right. Today we're going to compare these two wings. The first wing here is the Axis 1150. This is the highest area high aspect ratio wing from Axis. This is the Armstrong HS1850. This is Armstrong's highest aspect ratio wing, and both of these were released this summer. I'm excited to compare these two wings because both are about 1,800 square centimeters. And I've paired both with comparable fuselages and rear wings. I've heard great things about Armstrong, and I've mostly been riding Axis this summer, so very anxious to hop out in the water and give this a try.
This is my first Armstrong foil experience. In fact, it's the first time I've ever seen one. The carrying case is nicely designed. I saw two inner pouches. These are great for carrying shims, extra hardware, tools, really just one tool in the case of Armstrong. All of the screws use a Torx 30 head. My first impression was the mast and base plate being integrated. This is really clever. I've mostly seen masts that connect to base plates via two screws. Because it's integrated, it's not only one nice rigid piece, but it also packs reasonably well. And as I've realized, rigidity matters a lot because you want to translate all the energy you put into the foil right into the wing without losing any losses due to flexing interfaces. I also found how the base plate connects to the board to be very clever. These four clips that connect the base plate are big enough to get a thumb on and easy enough to take on and off, so you can place the clips in the foil track, two in the front, two in the back, slide them right to the ends, without trying to pinch a small screw head with your fingers. And as you see here, where the base plate meets the board, there's a felt-like material that will protect your board. I found that some other base plates have actually adhered to the board and took paint off the board when I went to remove it. I solved it by taping the bottom of the base plates. But this is a clever design and something I would have never thought mattered until I peeled paint off the bottom of my board. The rear wing cover's nice. It fits easily over the rear wing. This is the CF300 rear wing with a 398mm span and 300 square centimeters of area. And there's a 0-degree shim that interfaces the rear wing to the fuse. Armstrong calls shims titanium trim fairings. The front wing cover is also nice, nicely labeled as well. And as you can see, the wing is hollowed out in the center to accept the fuselage, which is a typical approach for a nice rigid connection. This is Armstrong's highest aspect ratio wing. This is the HS1850. It has an aspect ratio of 4.8, and it's the second largest wing by area in the Armstrong lineup. Armstrong also has a bigger low aspect ratio wing called the CF2400 at 2400 square centimeters. And finally, the fuselage. The fuselage slides into the carrying case right at the seam. Armstrong calls their fuselage the hex fuselage. It's made of titanium in its core, and it's shrouded in 5mm solid wall of carbon. After taking a look at the key components, all of it seems really well designed and engineered, and the fit and finish is nice, and it looks like it'll be able to take a beating. I'm anxious to take it to the water and see how it performs. The HS1850 is an interesting wing. It is what I'd call a mid-aspect ratio wing at 4.8, and it has a healthy 1850 square centimeters of frontal wing area. That's a good size for someone of my weight at 86 kilos or 190 pounds. With the TC60, the distance from the leading edge of the front wing to the trailing edge of the rear wing is about 73 centimeters. Again, sort of a mid-range fuselage length for this setup. But it's an 8-pound foil. I couldn't believe how light it is, certainly the lightest I've ridden in this 1800 square centimeter frontal wing class. I tried to create a comparable setup to compare the HS1850 to, so I chose the Axis 1150. Similar frontal wing area, but a very different front aspect ratio. The mast length, fuselage length, and rear wing shape were similar, and as you can see, the weight of the Armstrong foil was much less due to the carbon mast and base plate. So I took both wings out to the 30-meter test course and took them through a series of tests. The first was speed. The Axis wing is on the top, the Armstrong wing is on the bottom, and you can see they have a very similar max pumping speed. For the glide distance test, we pump each to its maximum pumping speed, and then when we hit the start of the 30-meter test course, we glide the wing as long as possible. You can see here that the Armstrong wing's glide comes to an end a little bit before the Axis wing. And for the pumping duration test, I launched both wings off my dock with a bungee and pumped them for as long as I could. Given the higher aspect nature of the 1150, I figured it would be able to pump longer, so I pumped the Armstrong wing first so I had more energy. And you can see here its pumping duration ended at about 55 seconds. It was a long outing, and by the time I got to the 1150 I was pretty exhausted, but I was still able to pump it for 15 seconds longer than the Armstrong wing. And I wanted to do some basic carving around the 30-meter course, so I took both wings out and carved them around the buoy in a similar sequence. It usually takes me many hours to get comfortable riding a new wing, but I found this HS1850 relatively easy to ride. It was very intuitive and responsive and forgiving. Like other less than 100 centimeter wingspans I'm familiar with, it's nice to carve with these wings. It's much easier to keep the wingtips buried during carving. I've probably clocked more than 20 or 30 hours riding the 1150 this summer, so it's hardly fair to compare it, but I can say that the HS1850 carved very well, was super intuitive to ride, and very responsive. One of the coolest things a foil unlocks on a lake is the ability to surf small wakes from small boats or even a jet ski. For folks on the lake without a boat that can put off a huge surf wake, you can still surf with a foil behind nearly any boat. Here I am surfing the second wake of my jet ski. I always want to see if a new wing I surf can surf a tiny wake. You can see here that the HS1850 could surf the second wake reasonably well, but I did have to pump the wing every so often to keep it going. If you're a beginner not yet able to pump, one of the considerations when choosing a foil should be the ability to surf without pumping. Pumping is an advanced technique. At my weight of 190 pounds or 86 kilos, I wasn't able to surf the second wake of my jet ski without pumping. We took the Armstrong foil out to the wide water and wanted to try some carves and backside transfers. I found this wing really easy to ride. I was amazed even after only a few hours how comfortable I felt on it. It'd been some time since I rode a less than 100 centimeter span wing, and at 94 centimeter span, the HS1850 is a really nice wing to carve back and forth and do backside transfers. The HS1850 is a mid aspect ratio wing at 4.8. I wouldn't expect it to have the glide distance of a higher aspect ratio wing like the Axis 1150, and it didn't. It didn't glide as far and it didn't pump for as long, but its speed in the water while pumping was similar. It was nice riding a smaller wingspan wing for a change. Tighter carving, less chance of breaching the wingtips made it fun on the wake. But it had been a long time since I rode a lower aspect wing, and I found the HS1850, even at a mid aspect, to be a nice balance of good enough pumping duration, good enough pumping speed, and good enough gliding distance. Yet still have a manageable small wingspan for carving and wake transfers. As someone who's been exclusively riding high aspect ratio wings, the glide, the low speed lift, and the ability to move great distances around the lake is addictive. And I find it hard to go back to riding a lower aspect wing. I also like the sensitivity of high aspect ratio wings to their change in angle of attack. For an HA wing, pitching the nose up even a small amount results in a big change in lift force. And over time you get used to that sensitive control and you learn to like it. I believe that a top-tier foil manufacturer like Axis or Armstrong compare reasonably well to one another. They make rigid products with thought-through wing geometries and foil sections. The main difference comes down to front wing portfolio. As riders, we're seeking to accomplish an objective. We pick different wings for riding huge wakes behind a boat and for pumping across the lake to thieve a wake. I'm now seeing riders pull off flips and 360s behind the boat, and that drives yet another set of requirements for foils. High aspect wings fit the activities I enjoy on the lake, and I feel like the Armstrong lineup is missing a key wing I would want to accomplish the activities I enjoy. And for those activities, my HS1850 continues to be my favorite setup for the lake.